Jewelry has the power to be this little thing that can make you feel unique. Being a true gentleman never goes out of fashion. People will stare. Make it worth their while. For the woman of your dreams and the jewelry of her dreams, rings, pins, and pendants, fabulous rubies, sparkling sapphires, brilliant diamonds. Keepsake Jewelers. We are the jewelers who understands what dreams are made of. Dreams of gold, dreams of emeralds, and dreams of diamonds in pins, rings, bracelets, and earrings. At Keepsake Jewelers, we have whatever it takes to make her dreams come true. Visit our new location, Keepsake Jewelers, 441 North Duncan Bypass, Suite 5, Union, 864-427-5100, 864-427-5100, Keepsake Jewelers, Union.
Okay, I'm back, and if you didn't hear me before, I'm Jerry McKee. Welcome to Prime Time. We've got the Dr. OShields that's here, and he's going to be talking to us about several different things that's going to be helpful for you and our healthy mental health. And we're going to talk about a couple of things here. And let me switch over to him where you'll be able to see him also. And there we go.
Hello.
How you doing, Dr. OShields?
I'm doing well, and this is such a relaxing place to be on your porch.
Yeah, it's so relaxing that I forgot to push a button or two again. I mean, we talked about that. I told you how easy it is to forget to push a button.
Yeah, yeah.
and my wife would come out here and tell me, I can't hear you. So now she can. But we are sitting on the porch and having a great time here. Dr. OShields, now, you are a graduate from the University of South Carolina, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you got your doctorate degree in?
Counseling education.
Counseling education.
Yes, yes.
And now you're a native from Union here. Right?
I am a native of Union, even though I spent probably 30 years away from Union during my period of growing up, I guess. But I lived here, born on Union Mill Hill. And lived here until about 79, I think it was. I'm not sure about the dates, but anyhow, most of my growing up period was here, and I worked for Torrington Bearings for many years.
Oh, okay, I know exactly Torrington, yes.
And then I finished college while I was working at Torrington, and then I decided I wanted to see some other places around the state. Didn't want to go too far, I guess. So I did move to another couple of jobs, and finally ended up in Orangeburg and stayed there for, it was about 18 years, and worked for the state for various agencies. Enjoyed that. That was Orangeburg is a nice town.
Now, one thing that I found very interesting, and just by accident, I knew that you was a counselor, and but you're also an author.
I am an author,
and one of the books that that intrigued me a little bit there was the murder mystery book. Because I've done some murder mystery, wrote some, and actually did like a play of it and videoed it over at the Inn on the Meriton, and I kind of did it in a I Love Lucy thing, except I had that theme with the heart and right in it, come up with I Love Lucy's murder mystery, and we spent the night there, and everybody had a part, everybody was in character, and it was so much fun.
That sounds like it was.
And now you've got
found no ghost, I guess, huh?
Well, I've been on some regular ghost hunts. Actually, the museum had me in Union go out to the Cross Keys house, and set up cameras through there, and had narrator there and all. It was interesting, and none come home with me. And my wife said they better not come home with me. Now you also had. Now you wrote a book about the Mill Hill.
Yes. Well, I've had a couple. There's the first book that I wrote was sort of a story of my life when I was young, and that was Where Have You Gone, Ted Williams. It's a strange title, I know, but you know what it comes down to is this kid on the Mill Hill who, for the life of him, can't seem to get a picture of Ted Williams on the baseball card, the bubblegum card.
Well, I was wondering about that. How Ted Williams, did you write about him, or kind of?
No, he was very little of it other than just talking about the ball games during the day.
Oh, okay.
But Ted Williams was my hero, you know, from the time I was a little boy.
And now, did you write the book about the, well, it says it's fiction tale about Union Mill Village as you was growing up? Is that something you experienced yourself, or is that just a fictional?
A mix
with it,
because it was a story of going to school there on the Mill Village, and you know they were back in those days. They were always boys usually. I guess they could have been girls, but they were boys usually who were 2 or 3 years older than most everybody else there in the classroom, and they enjoyed being bullies. So you know this is a story of one of the bullies and how that transpired. I think it's interesting to me because, as it was, the character that was me and this bully ended up being pretty good friends before it was over.
Oh, okay.
And then, well, a lot of other things go on, but I think it's a pretty interesting book. So that book you might got to say it's fiction, but you know there's so many personal stories that go into it.
Right, you can.
That is true.
Yeah, you can see some. I could see that really happening in the Mill Village that I lived in. You know,
it happened on every one of them. I bet.
I think so. Now, what is your focus as far as specializing in counseling? Is it marriage? Is it grief counseling? Family counseling?
You know, when I did that, I worked in Orangeburg, and Orangeburg is not much bigger than Union. And you pretty much have to be generic as far as who you're going to see and what you're going to see. I try to stay away from marriage counseling if I can help it. Not afraid
That's
of it.
Kind of like my videos. I don't like to video marriages either.
But yeah, that's one of them. Now, I do enjoy working with people who've been through traumas.
Right.
And post-traumatic stress disorder, is one of them, and that's something that I've done an awful lot over the years.
Now, did you have, with the COVID coming in, I mean, there was a lot of panic, a lot of people stressed there, a lot of people not having to go to work, a lot of people shutting down places. And I know it had to be just so much stress on people not knowing if their loved one catch it, you know, like my sister passed away. I imagine you had a lot there to think about. And what are some of the things that people will come and ask you or have difficulty with during a grief process?
I wish that I could answer that, Jerry, but I can't because I had to be closed also.
Right.
You know, I wasn't able to be open like a lot of other businesses then.
Right.
And that was a shame. But when I did open back up, then a lot of the people would come in with questions about it. And then they got to be, you know, the question about some people say, oh, there's nothing to it. You know, it's not real, it's just fake, it's just a bad cold or flu, something like that. But I had it, and I ended up in the hospital for a week. Christmas time in the hospital, that was pretty awful.
So you had it firsthand and know what
I know it was
like.
terrible, and if not for one doctor who really gave me some medicine to help me get over it, I would have died.
Right.
No doubt about it.
And a lot of people did, like I said, including my sister, like that. And regardless if they didn't believe it was a COVID-19, didn't believe in some of those things there, it had to believe in something because either it was you can say it's a super bad flu, you can call it anything you want to call it, but it was bad.
The flu killed a lot of people in 1919, 1918, so, you know, so it was terrible in the way you go about it, but I had to be closed. My office was closed, and when my office is closed, that means my antique store is closed because it's in the same building.
Right. Well, that means that that's right, because that's your other kind of hobby.
Kind of hobby, you know,
and it's antiques.
And you know, but unfortunately, what has happened, and maybe it's because I don't have the motivation anymore, but you know, just once I closed and was closed for several months, and it just never came back again. You know, it just sort of went away.
Well, well, you know, and I'm pastor of a church, and churches are still having that effect.
Yeah.
After that part of closing, people got used to social media, watching the live streaming, and thinking, well, I don't have to go to church now. I just watch it.
Just watch it on TV, right?
And I always tell them, you know, you're not going to sit there and listen in church as you are live streaming, because what's going to happen is phone's going to ring, you're going to answer it.
You're going to get up and
you're going to get, I need something to drink. And go get something to drink.
Yeah. So it's not the same.
It's not. You're not going to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I know that, and they kind of know that, but they use it as for that. Now, are you seeing clients now? I mean, if so, how do they make an appointment with you or contact you?
I've got just a couple of clients that I continue to see. In fact, they're teenage boys, and you know, sort of ongoing kind of thing. So we just have our regular appointments set up every couple of weeks. And I'm not sure if I want to take on any other customers or not right now.
Right. And when just looking in our own hometown right here, here especially lately, it seems like that we've had more suicides than normal than we've had. What is your reflection on that?
I don't know that I've actually sat down and talked with anybody about that. You know, I know there have been a lot of suicides. There are a lot of accidental drug overdoses. I know that. But I've also talked with some friends of mine. You know, one is a policeman. He was talking about a young boy that killed himself. And I had a good friend of mine about 2 years ago who killed himself. You know, my thought on that was real good. Why couldn't I talk to him one more time? I never talked to him from a standpoint of a counselor.
Right.
But I don't think he ever let anybody know that he was hurting the way he was hurting. You know, he kept it to himself very much so.
And that's something that people, what are some of the things that people can actually do to make themselves aware? Like you said yourself, this guy that maybe if you'd have counseled with him, maybe you got to see, what are some of the maybe signs or some things that people can do that would help them recognize, especially a close family member. It's probably harder with a closer family member than it is with a friend.
It probably is. You know, you're going to see some things going on, I think. And you know, with this particular person, I won't go into too much detail because he was well known, but, you know, just his behaviors changed. You know, what he was doing before changed to where he was at home all the time, staying away from other people. He would show a lot more depression, very sad. I think that's one of the biggest things is our usual habits will change, and it will be in a way so that person is now sitting over there, to use an example, by themselves versus being involved with other people. Now, I had been out with this person and along with some other friends, and I would never have guessed that would be going on with him.
And that's usually, it happens when you think, because I had a person that I worked with also, and he called me up, and I'm thinking, if I only answered the phone, I said, well, I'll call him back later.
Yeah.
And later was not an option for him. But he was struggling with, his wife had left him.
Yeah.
And he could not take it. He was really distraught over it, but he looked like he was starting to get better, and things going better for him. And then when I went to work that next day, somebody said, "Oh, did you hear about so-and-so?" I says, "No." Says, he shot and killed himself.
Oh, I'm really sorry for you for going through that. I know that's a tough thing to deal with, and you know, and we all, counselors, pastors, everybody, you know, we all have, why didn't I do something different?
Right.
Why couldn't I have said something different?
And you know yourself, is that because we deal with a lot of this, is that we don't know. We can't read minds.
You can't read minds.
And people like to use the thing of, you know, if I'd have been there, only if I did, and of course that's when they come to you also, because they're grieving and thinking that's their fault on these stuff.
A lot of times.
Yeah, and we're going to come back right after this commercial with Keepsake Jewelers, and we're going to come on and talk a little bit more about the grief process and some of the about stuff. I think it's very important. But we'll be right back. Okay, we're going to come back just right here. We're not, it doesn't want to act right because I see what I did, but we'll get to it in another 15 minutes. Anyway, Keepsake Jewelers, if you need some jewelry, you go and and buy some nice jewelry. I banned my wife from going there, even though her, she likes going down there. So anyway, but we were talking about suicide, and sometimes the person that's committing the suicide really doesn't know how he's hurting the individuals that knows that person personally, or whether it be family members, friends, and how it can take an effect on them mentally. And now a person, and we've all seen this, that we call them cries wolf a lot.
Sure.
I'm going to kill myself, and
Sure.
and I'm going to do it this way to really, and especially you see it a lot on social media, that they want to get the attention instead of actually doing like it. And it's still hard to recognize that. You think even with them doing that should be an awareness that someone should be able to either talk to that person or try to get that person help, even though they're not going to do anything because they do this all the time?
I guess I see it a little differently because of the fact that I am a counselor, and if I have somebody to threaten suicide, and I try to ignore it by saying, you've done that 20 times before, it's never happened, go away and leave me alone, and they go and kill themselves, and then I'm going to be sued. I'm going to lose my license. So, it's a little different. That's not going to be the case with most people.
Right, because in my personal, if someone's they're crying out for help for something, they need some help if they keep saying that.
They still, I would agree with that, absolutely. They are wanting some help somewhere or another. Maybe they don't know how to ask for it, or maybe they don't know how to go about it. But there's certainly several people that meet some mental health criteria, and they seem to be able to do this on a regular basis, and even will come down to cutting themselves, or come down to doing some pretty good damage to their body.
Right.
But know enough not to kill themselves. But that scares me just as much, because they could slip. Something could happen right there. So that
right.
It's just a.
Now I do know some that like they had just cuts herself and things that doesn't go. Where they're cutting themselves is not a dangerous point.
Right.
But yet it is a red flag there.
Absolutely.
Regardless if they don't follow through with it, you really don't want them to follow through with it to make yourself right.
No.
What kind of causes a person that wants that immediate attention? What brings the person? I know with all your counseling that you kind of give yourself a synopsis of why this something happened in the early life, or what's your opinion on that?
Almost certainly it's going to be something that's going on in the background, and that's not, probably, I won't know a whole lot about it unless I've been in counseling with them for a long time.
Right.
But it is usually it's a personality disorder, and it's a need that they have, and they don't quite know how to go about getting that need met. Or it's something that can be, it comes a couple of ways. Like a while ago I said, I wish that I had one more chance to talk to that person.
Right.
And that's what I got to remember. Those kind of things maybe this is the one more chance. Even though it may be interrupting my supper, it might be, it may be doing a lot of bad things. I'm sitting there saying bad things in my mind, because, and some of these are 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So they can be very irritating to somebody.
It is, and usually, to me, I call it that's the dark hours that people have time where everything else is either shut down or quiet time, and it gets them really thinking in their minds and really can't really place it to get yourself back together.
Yeah, and it usually has a lot to do with alcohol or some sort of drug that might relax them and depress them to some extent.
Well, you think the moon has anything to do with
the moon.
We hear that all the time. It's a full moon. It's all these crazy things going to happen, even including suicide and things like that. Do you think?
People in treatment centers say that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would go along with it, but they say that. I mean, the people that run the treatment center say, it's a full moon tonight. We're going to have to be ready here.
Yeah. And I've always heard this, and I just wanted to get your opinion on that. Now, another one I'd like to talk to you about, as opinion-wise, is that we have shut down so many mental health facilities, including down in Bull Street. I know that they've cut way back there, same thing as in Broughton in Morganton, North Carolina, and have poured away from that. And we see so much need there on our streets today.
Yeah. This goes back to and I can understand why people want to do this. I wouldn't want to stay in a facility for a long time, and so these people were at one time they might spend their whole life in a mental health facility, being locked up.
Right.
And to be able to come up with the wonderful medications, and there's two sides to that too, like there are so many things. But the medications do at least make them so they can go out and live among people in general. But,
right.
When it comes down to taking their medications on a regular basis, then that's where the problem may come in again, because if they don't take the medications, then, they're going to have some more problems.
And correct me if I'm wrong, a lot happens there when they take their medications and they get to feeling like normal again, that they said, well, I don't have to take it no more.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And there are a lot of side effects. It's not just saying that, I feel wonderful now, so I don't have to take it anymore. But those side effects might be things like sexual side effects, that may make it really difficult for them to continue to take the medications, and so they don't feel like a real person that way.
Right.
So there are a lot of things that go on with it. But yes, the medications can do it. But when they do take the medications, then they can stay somewhat stable, and I would say stable if they take it on a regular basis. I'm not sure if anybody takes it on a regular basis all the time. Seems like to me they don't, from what I've seen. But when that happens, then this person is going to have another problem, and then somebody has to do an intervention, and then put them on medication again starting. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 days in a hospital to get them back to where they should be.
Now, would you think that with so many people on the streets now taking the wrong kind of drugs, like fentanyl and some of the other, just destroying their minds, is this the kind of, they take these drugs to kind of escape something as far as in this went on in their life, or I know some probably did it for recreational, and then all of a sudden it just got to be a habit. But I've known some that just like they're trying to, that said that they escaping, they don't feel nothing, they don't want to handle stuff. I've heard that
a lot, and I don't know. I certainly would see that to be the truth, that people, it's a little different with people, I guess, because if they felt normal, quote normal to begin with, then they probably wouldn't be taking the medications at all. But, sometimes you just don't. And people have a hard time getting back to whatever normal is.
Right, and of course some cannot, they don't know what normal is.
Yes, they don't.
And that, to me, that's where we need cancer. That's where we need mental health that's not under budget and can only have so much going on. And the facilities, to me, when they open doors to kind of release, to cut back, I think they created a bigger problem than what they've had there. And with some of the counselings and some of the places I've been into where they've had people that would give them ways and avenues to live life, how to live by yourself, how you know these signs, and really help them, educate them that they don't have that now. They hand a pamphlet, you know.
A lot of it is, there's an awful lot of education that goes on in the mental health facilities. So I mean, I think they've done a fairly good job with that, but no, I don't. In total, no. How do you know what normal is? How do you know what normal is for this person over here or this person over here? And I think it'd be really hard to get to that. There's so many different programs and so many different avenues of trying to treat somebody, and I've not known any yet that has been close to being perfect, I guess is what I should say.
Right. And, some of you're talking about side effects on some of the medication, not only just like either breaking, people think side effects, well, it's, I can't sleep at night or I have this right here, but we hear so much, even on television, with all the medications we have now, one of the things you hear on there is apt to suicidal thoughts.
Yes, yes.
And can you elaborate a little bit on that? How does, maybe not the scientific way of it, that would make a person think that? It's kind of hard for someone that doesn't take medication that's got that in it to even know.
My wife should be in here for this one because, they gave me a medication to treat my lungs, it almost killed me. I mean, I just, all this is going back to my COVID thing.
Right.
And it just, it was hard to get in touch with the doctor, but yeah, and she looked everything up, and the first thing on there is it may cause death. She said, "Why were you taking it to begin with?" I said, "Because the doctor told me to." But yeah, I think that is very possible. And when you look at you look at some of the medications, Zoloft, I think it is, antidepressant. Some of the young teenage men who have been taking that, it seems as if when they take it and they begin to feel better, that's when you really need to check on it, because sometimes that causes them to have suicidal thoughts. That don't make any sense, I know, but that's what happens.
Now, when you mention to someone that, well, you need to go to counseling, you need to get some help, can you speak a little bit to folks out here to let them know that how that they may need to talk to a therapist, that because some people is so afraid that, oh, if I go talk to a therapist, I'm going to be labeled as crazy. I'm going to be labeled as this right here. And I'm afraid they're going to put me in an institution. And what can you tell someone that really needs to see a counselor, how they would take that first steps of seeking that, and what can they change their mind or change the way that they think about a counselor? People are going to think this, and you and I know we know people that thinks this.
First of all, it's going to be completely confidential. So probably nobody's going to know unless that person tells them. A counselor is not allowed to tell anybody who their clients are unless the client signs a paper giving them permission to do that. So that would be part of it right there. And I know when I see somebody in counseling, it is we just spend a couple of sessions just talking, getting to know one another, just seeing how we fit together, the biggest thing that I want is for that person to like me. Right. It really is. I'm not sitting there trying to make them any, I'm not making any demands on them. I'm talking about what they would like to get out of this. So trying to make it very comfortable. Now that might be, I'm a counselor now, I'm not a psychiatrist.
Right.
with a psychiatrist, sometimes they say you're going to take this medicine, and that could create some problems. But yeah, I want a good relationship going on, because I know unless I have that good relationship going on with that client, then they're not going to tell me what I need to know.
Right.
To help work on that.
And that's kind of a thing that some people that really needs the help are so afraid of, that someone's going to find out, maybe someone in their family member is going to make them look down, or a friend like that. We'll come back with some more questions here in just a minute. We're going to get with Keepsake Jewelers here now that I've know what I did wrong last time. So we'll be right back right after a message.
Jewelry has the power to be this little thing that can make you feel unique. Being a true gentleman never goes out of fashion. People will stare. Make it worth their while. For the woman of your dreams and the jewelry of her dreams, rings, pins, and pendants, fabulous rubies, sparkling sapphires, brilliant diamonds. Keepsake Jewelers. We are the jewelers who understands what dreams are made of. Dreams of gold, dreams of emeralds, and dreams of diamonds in pins, rings, bracelets, and earrings. At Keepsake Jewelers, we have whatever it takes to make her dreams come true. Visit our new location, Keepsake Jewelers, 441 North Duncan Bypass, Suite 5, Union, 864-427-5100, 864-427-5100, Keepsake Jewelers, Union.
Okay, we're back. We're talking to Dr. Daniel OShields, and we're learning a lot about what's going on in our community. And now we live in a small town, and being in a small town, everybody seems like they know everybody's business, don't they?
It seems that way, yeah.
And that's another thing that would keep people from coming. And what is some things that someone can even like examine themselves, knowing if they need some counseling or not?
What might be the signs that somebody could if they're having a problem, what might be happening inside them is what you're asking.
Right.
Yeah, first thing I would think about was the two most common for any of us is depression and anxiety. Kind of two different things, but if there's some easy little examples of questions that you can ask to see if depression could be a problem. With anxiety, I think we all have a pretty good idea of what it means, but there would be some other questions there that you could go on to that could be that. If you're anxious and you can't sleep, don't have a good appetite. Same thing with depression. So there's some tests that are maybe 16 to 20 questions that you could do that. So if you have a problem with depression, then I would really suggest that would be one that would be it needs to be addressed. Anxiety is not, in my mind, is not as dangerous. Somebody might tell me different, but just the idea that nobody ever died from being anxious, but you sure die from being depressed, because that's when people kill themselves. Is when they get so far down they don't see a way out of it, like digging a big hole and can't find a way to get out of it.
And there's always a way out.
There's always a way out.
We don't want people to think that it's always theirs. And what we can do as a society too is to be a little bit kinder to people, because we don't know what they're going through. Whether it be in a checkout or getting mad because they had to wait, drive-throughs, people cutting you off, because we hear about road rage and all this here. We don't know what people is going through, and a kind word can change a person's life.
It can make a big difference in the day. We used to talk about that in school, sort of talk about the poor cashier, because that's kind of the person who has to feel the brunt of everything.
Yes.
You go from the top all down to the bottom, and everybody's chewing the cashier out. But yeah, we don't know how we affect people by what we say.
Right.
No. And people will brag about it. People will say, "Oh, you should have heard me when I got onto that cashier back there." That, it might not have been such a good thing. I've never been a cat. Well, only for a short time I've been a cashier.
So you might have been on that foot of the other end.
I might have caught a few of those. Yeah.
Well, holidays is one of the worst times when it really, actually it is for me. I get depressed between November until after Christmas is over. Mm-hmm. And no rhyme and reason. We have the church, I have all these things here, and I haven't really pinpointed down yet, but I really get depressed during that time when it should be a joyful time. And I said, I don't understand why you're this way. Well, I don't either. But it's a time that time, and I can only imagine someone that's even down and out, because we put so much emphasis during them holidays into, well, we need to buy this. We need to set this standard.
Everything has to be perfect.
Yes.
All the cakes and cookies and everything has to be absolutely perfect. The meals, everything. We set such a I guess just having to have that sort of goal that we set is a little bit unrealistic to begin with. So what, if we go and work at a plant or something like that, if we screw up a little bit, it's not such a big deal. Nobody does that. But Christmas and other holidays, to us, that's a major, major thing.
Right. That blinking off, that don't affect the outcome. That's just our monitor.
Okay.
And television, social media, all this up here makes it look like everything's a perfect world right then. And we try to keep up with the holiday. We want to keep up. We want to have the house decorated this way. We want to have, and you have some people that does not and cannot afford some of these things that looks perfect. It's not perfect, but during that time of holidays, everything looks so perfect. Even the grocery stores.
It has to be perfect. Has to be perfect. Yeah. All the conversations we have has to be perfect. So just a lot of things that and they're not going to be. I mean, realistically, we don't go around all day long having perfect conversations with people. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that absolutely. But the only thing I can suggest to you, I think it's standards that we set for ourselves. Mm-hmm. I don't think it comes from anywhere but right here.
Right.
And I do the same about, you hear people talk about, the wintertime blues kind of thing.
Right.
I do that. I get, when it gets to be into fall of the year, which to me is one of my favorite times of the year. I think the light changing is part of it.
Right.
But there are a lot of other things that go into it too. But yeah, I think it's difficult for me, really difficult.
Yeah, and in your springtime's not as much, except for the pollen and things, but things starting to bloom and you see life and things in colors. Yeah. It kind of is a little bit warmer.
It's different, yeah.
And we
feels good
better.
Like a day like this. I mean, who could not feel good on a day like this?
Exactly.
But some people don't.
That they don't. And let's talk a little bit about social media.
Okay.
I'm on social media all the time, looking at different ones, and I see a lot of people that either mask who they are. Because you're hiding behind a computer, and you can make yourself to be out anything you want to be out, but yet when you go out into the real world, what I'll say is, you have a totally different perspective, and that could cause some anxiety and depression.
It could, absolutely.
So what is your take on this? Because right now everything is like social media. Everybody's got something in their face looking at it.
It's been, I think, one of those that's a double bind is not really the word I want to find, but just the idea that it can be really, really bad and it can be really, really good. And I think it's what we do with it probably more than anything else. Mm-hmm. and as the things I was reading as I was sort of preparing for this was that, the biggest problems that people have with social media is they don't set limits on it, so they end up using it way too much. They might lose sleep to be finding out what's going on. They can't wait to get up in the morning and find out what's going on. And if you get up early and you turn it on, and it's according to what's happening. I mean, if you happen to turn it on to a political show, then they're going to be bomb blasting you with all these things that's going on, and you think the world's going to blow up before the day's over. But I think setting realistic limits. It surprised me some of the numbers. 2 billion people across the world use social media.
Right.
That's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine, but at the same time, it is something like if we were to turn it off 2 hours before we go to bed, it would help us a whole lot.
Might help sleep some.
It would help sleep, no doubt about it.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people when they on social media like that is like they're also social media also fuels. They want you on there. They want you on there 24 hours a day.
And they're going to give you stuff to kind of
and we
encourage you to stay on it.
And we put our whole life out there. We take pictures of food. We take pictures of food. We're getting ready to eat. Look here. We take a picture, put it up there, and we look to see how many people commented. We're going to see how many numbers goes up there, because I watch the numbers on my shows and stuff. I do watch that. Sure. But the people put it on there and says, you know what, such and such commented on that.
Yeah.
And if that person is a what do you call someone that's
well thought
not enforcer, influencer.
Influencer, yeah.
Then it's you know what, I had such and such, and if it gives you a bad one, a review, it's depressing. That
would ruin my day right there.
Exactly, and we lose contact a lot of times with family.
Yeah. And that is probably the biggest issue, family and friends, that we'd rather be on the internet rather than talking with a real conversation with family and friends. As we were talking before the show started, talking about people who go into a restaurant and talk to one another through their phone.
Right.
But don't have a face-to-face conversation, and I think that's very sad.
It is, and because you see it everywhere you go in the restaurants, that at the table it's dead silence, but they're on the phone talking to somebody, chatting with somebody, and they can't wait to get up in the morning, like I said, losing sleep there, to see who commented on this, or I got to be first to put this on the internet, and they just don't realize that how much you're really exposing your life. And this is really funny, is when I see them on there saying, well, this is none of your business. Oh my goodness. You just told everybody your business. and it's really comical.
And you want to keep it a secret.
That's right. And then you also, you talk about crime and things, that we're sitting here saying, yeah, crime's up, and yes, I'm at the beach. Nobody's home there.
Yeah.
And we just open the world to social media, anywhere from hacking, stealing your identity, is that we give them this information.
Yeah.
Now,
and people are sitting there waiting to receive it. It's just. I think the whole idea, if we can limit that, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
When I was in my program down at USC, when I first started, in order to do some research, you had to go to the library. And I lived in Orangeburg, so I'm driving 40 miles to start with. And then you had to go to the library there and get an appointment with one of the library people for another day, sometime probably a week or so, to come back and help you come up with papers that you can go look up and do research on. And you know, and by the time I finished, I mean, heck, you could sit there and look all this stuff up and, you know, go copy the papers and head out the door, and you know, the first day. So it's been wonderful. In a lot of ways, it has been wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's like books. You know, you've written books, stuff like. I don't want to read a book. They'll read something on the computer, and we have a short mindset now, shorter than everyone's attention span, because we'll sit here and anyone watches like a video or something, unless it's interesting, they don't want a long video. They want a short. That's why they got these short reels on there now that on social media that's only a minute or something like that. Yes, and it's
if I see a YouTube thing gets 15 or 20 minutes, I skip on by it.
Yes, you go on by unless it's something you really want to dig into, and that's where our minds have gotten. Even in social, talking to someone, I could talk to someone, I could tell if they're going to listen or not within 10 minutes of that talking. They already they got that. Was it deer in the headlight look?
Headlights, yeah. I've seen that a lot.
Yes. Now, you grew up on a Mill Hill Village.
Yes.
What was some of the social media you had there?
Social media.
Yes. Leaving the media out to social.
The stores on the corners, you know, would be most of it. You know, you would go over there and you would meet people. You'd go down to the city park and get up a gang and play some ball. You know, so it was real interactions with people.
Right, actually talking to them.
Actually talking, actually playing baseball or softball, whatever it might be. You know, that was your buddies. You know, you'd get up in the morning and head out the door and go find a buddy and then go from there. Right,
you'd ride your bicycles around the community.
Yeah.
And the only people that knew what's going on in your house like that is your family, because unless you just kind of leak something out. But it's a great, like, I love the comedian James Gregory. And he talked about when they took the front porches off the houses, they caused problems.
That to me is a big deal, yeah.
Yes, because you could sit on your front porch, look out, wave at people when they go by, that's a neighborhood, and or talk about them either one. You know?
Right.
And one thing that my grandmother loved, and she got really upset with, is when they turned the party line phone into a private number, a private line.
I remember that very well. Yeah.
She hated that because she could no longer
couldn't keep up with your neighbors.
Listen to them. I know it, and it'd be so funny because as children running through there, I would run and would pick up the phone, listen. Well, she'd come through there and fuss at us and make us hang up. We look back in there, she's easing
listening.
up. But
it was fun. I remember that. But you know, as a kid, I don't know if I'd done it as a grown up. But
right, but that was our social media back then. Growing up, we knew when someone was having a problem in the neighborhood because it was a close neighborhood.
Yeah, and
we would take dinners over or pot roasts over. We not even have to say nothing, but just letting somebody know that you cared.
And when I was working on one of my books, I know the people talked about the pies that were set in the windows to cool.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. I mean, it's such a wonderful thought to have that. And that I'm sure created a lot of conversations right there. You know, people going, "Oh, you got an apple pie here today." Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could smell it.
Yeah.
You're walking by, and as a kid, your mouth just waters on.
Oh man, I tell you what.
We didn't worry about locking our doors.
No. That's one thing that Greer talks about that you know, I don't even know if we had a key to our door.
Right, and we raised windows up, let the fan in the window, you know, where we can make little sounds to it with our voices and to stir the air. We really didn't have that much of air conditioning.
There wasn't any air conditioning when I was growing up on Union Mill Hill. Now we got it later, thank goodness. But I run the fan as much as I can now.
Right. Well, we got about 5 more minutes here. So one thing that that really disturbs a lot of people, and this including school shootings, church shootings. We're having to now take evasive actions that before we've never had before had to take. And I know, and I speak about video games now, that when we played, first of all, we had the little bar thing, that Pong, that would back and forth, and we thought that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But now a lot of the videos has got so much killing.
Real life looking things going on.
Right, and where they're actually shooting people, killing people. And do you think that maybe some of these school shootings and maybe some of the violence from that is these kids gets caught up in a game like that and can't separate reality?
Might be hard for them to tell the difference between real and not real.
Right.
This is what I thought for many, many years, and I think I still do. But I think it has to be a little bit more than that, because there are some countries that don't seem to have these problems at all.
Right.
Even though they have all the same stuff, all the same games that are going on, and they seem to take it. Maybe it's a difference in the belief. I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's worth looking at. I don't like to see it. I know that. I don't like to see kids in a school, sitting there playing these games or playing them on a phone.
Right, and like you said, it's around the world like that. But I think they have a little bit stricter, maybe guidelines. Maybe the parents has a stricter guidelines that they have it, but they can only have to do so much of it.
Parents is a very important part of it. That's what I used to tell them all the time. It's you who needs to set the goals for this. Same thing with social media.
Yes.
If you see a kid that's up 24 hours a day watching his phone, then parent needs to step in there somewhere. Yeah, so you can't do that.
And I know more and more we're seeing the children taking the role of the parent.
I see that.
And so the parent taking roles here. I don't know if it's because of some of our rules and laws that we've passed. It's got parents scared to death. If I did this with my child, they're going to come in and do this or do that. But I think we need to get back and the parents, if they're having difficulties, they need counseling to be a better parent.
There have been several programs that and maybe some of them are good and some of them are not, but it was just teaching a parent the parenting things. It's not so much counseling, but it is okay for you to do this to your child.
Right.
It's not okay to do this to your child. And I used to hear some pretty horrible things. I mean, where parents would really beat kids pretty terribly. I've seen some of these things, and it bothered me when I saw it. I remember that. But there's still a lot of ways you can discipline, without doing the capital punishment sort of things. And I think most of them will probably work better.
Exactly. You can get too much corporal punishment. And then you get too much punishment that really the kid's going to get to the point where
they ignore it.
Right.
Ignore it.
But just the right amount that you need to be controlled, and they don't understand that you're shaping that child's life.
Yes, you are shaping. That's a good way to say it, because that's what it is. And I think it's important for the child to understand that the parent is in charge. However they get that across.
Right.
And it may be by nothing, but just, my dad, if he were to say things to me, that got my attention right there.
Exactly. And we knew they meant business, and we respect them for that. Mm-hmm. But we've got now where, children's calling their mom and dad by the first name. We couldn't, we would be disciplined real quick. So, you don't call me that. This is Mama, this is Dad, and I think that takes away.
I think it does too.
The parenting of it.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll tell you, time's up. This goes by pretty quick, and I really appreciate you, Dr. OShields, coming here and enlightening us and a lot of stuff here. It's been very educational, and that's the purpose of this. And I really, really appreciate you coming on and being with me.
Well, thank you, and I've enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It's been fun.
We left my wife in the other room there, and yours out in the car reading. And we have this talk. Well, I'm Jerry McKee, and thank you for watching. I hope this was enlightening and educational for you. We'll have some links in there. If you know, if you want to ask the question stuff, you can go back and put it in our comments and let us know. And I'll let you know next week who's going to be on the next Monday. I never tell you right now. You know that. So I'm Jerry McKee, and thank you for watching for Prime Time. And we'll see you next Monday.